Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are at. I hope you are doing well today. It's Nigerian XJW Speaks here, otherwise known as Chiga. I was a little bit distracted by some light going past, but focus. I hope everyone's doing well today. I hope you've had a good weekend. It is officially my first video of the year, so Happy New Year, guys. I hope the year has started out right for you. I hope it's everything that you wanted it to be so far, because we need it. We need it after 2020. I think my last video was my birthday live stream because it was my birthday exactly a week ago today. So if you were on there with me, hi, thanks for joining me. Or if you want to go catch up, you go ahead and do that as well. So happy 2021. I thought I'll start with a proper sit down today, old school style, from my earliest videos. So just sit down and talk through a particular thing. However, I am still in Christmas mode, so I've got my Christmas robe on and feeling real comfortable. If I can't be comfortable at home, where is it gonna be? Okay, frivolities aside, subscribe if you haven't. If you like the video, give it a like and a thumbs up. What is that I have up there? Up there, that thing. Do you see what I'm trying to point at? Why is this hopeless? There we go. There. What is that? Okay, I'm gonna look at that later. As you know, I've just been in this house for a few weeks, so I'm still figuring things out. Don't know what that is, but I gotta figure out. Okay, moving on. So, as you can probably see from the title, it's gonna be something to do with brainwashing. It's something that's on my mind to talk about today. How the brainwashing in the witness faith really happens. Just some of the methods, some of the things along the way that I would say is part of how the indoctrination happens. And of course, as someone who was born into it, that is the perspective that I'm going to be speaking from, the perspective of someone who was born into it. What I thought were the things that happened along the way that were certainly part of that. So I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've put down 6 things here. They're in some form of order, but if it goes out of order, don't worry about it. It all definitely counts. So starting from birth. In fact, even before you're born, there is science out there that suggests that when parents speak to their babies while they're not even born yet, that is communication happening. And so you have things that are being said. This is repetition from the outside. You're hearing the same thing day in, day out. If there's anything we know about the witness faith, there's a lot of routine things that are being done, things that you go through the motion, but focusing on things that are being said. So from the moment you're born, that sort of continues in the form of family worship, which you have every day. Then you have the meetings, however many times a week you have that. You have the family worship as well. So this is separate from the morning worship, which is the daily text. You also have a family worship as well that you do separately. And then you have the going out in service where you're listening to other people saying it yourself. So that sort of repetition, reinforcement, day in, day out, you're hearing the same thing over and over again. And even they get you to repeat stuff sometimes. So once you're able to speak, you get to the point of giving comments yourself in all of these meetings. And so now you're not just hearing it, you're repeating it in form of comments. So it's really marinating in those first, I think it's the first 5 to 7 years of a child's life that they are forming. They are becoming who they are. They're experiencing a lot of brain growth. Neural connections are being made, and you have these things being repeated over and over again. Those are the pathways in the brain that are getting really established and reinforced and solidified. Then you go on to the toddler stage. I put this toddler up until around year 10. This is now the point where you're not just listening and commenting, you're very engaged in the preaching work now. So this is you now evangelizing. You're not just giving comments, like preaching to the choir sort of things. You're not just talking to fellow members. You are now talking to the outside world. You're going out, you're preaching, you are, or at least I was, encouraged at this point to actively witness people in school, out in the service. Gosh, these words. Out in the service on a Saturday, on a Sunday, actively encouraged to have my own Bible students, so people that I would be studying with the aid of a book. And for me personally, what that did was add on some more responsibility, not just in what I was saying, but the pressure to live the way I was telling people to do. So straight away, you have a child who isn't old enough, right, to take on this sort of responsibility. You have that weight now on your shoulder to not just say it, but do it. So now you're feeling that pressure that is molding you, and that's consuming your thoughts day in, day out. Linked to that as well is a lot of the guilt. A lot of the guilt in things that maybe that you should and shouldn't do. And that responsibility that you have on top of that, it just makes it so much worse. And the third thing I've put down is information control. Now, this is not something that's limited to just one phase of life. This is an ongoing thing, but I put it as a separate category. Control of information, control of the information that comes in here, control of the information that you have access to, not just in the preventing you from accessing them. In that case, they have your parents as the agents, if I can call it that. They are the agents who are there to ensure that external information doesn't get to you. Now, granted, being a parent myself, I can understand that it is the responsibility of parents to make sure, especially when it's younger kids, right? Younger kids to not be exposed to things that they're not ready for. So, for example, you have the recent issue that the governing body has been having to deal with, where there are parents who are complaining that some of the imagery that is shown in their videos, they don't think it's appropriate for their young children, which they're well within their rights to do so. But this is not what I'm talking about here. It's not information that parents are withholding because they think their kids are not ready for. They're withholding it because it hasn't come from the governing body, because it's just a different opinion. And so you have that form of information control. And this is also done with the adults as well. This is not just children. Like I said, it applies to all stages of lives. So it's not just the holding back of the information, stopping you from even looking at it in the first place, but also demonizing it if you do happen to look at it. So it's called apostate material. It's said to be from the devil himself, and well, nobody wants to look at that. So the information is withheld and it's demonized. So that way they control the sort of information that you get access to. The next point I've put on there is isolation from other people. So it's another form of the information control, but that's more in terms of the people that you have access to. So again, if we go back to someone who was raised in the religion, you have cases like I had, where you're told you're not supposed to have friends who are not part of this group. And so when you can control who someone talks to, where they can talk to them, how long they can talk to them, I'm not joking, where they can talk to them and how long they can talk to them. So in my case, we always had a corner shop. I think I might have mentioned this before. We always had a shop, so people from the neighborhood would come in to buy things. And so the amount of time they spent in the shop was being monitored, because that is opportunity to, I guess, exchange ideas that they didn't want it talked about. And so that is another way of controlling, being told that you shouldn't have friends who are not in the group. And unfortunately, this is not just for kids, because it's one thing for a parent to want their kid to avoid other kids who they feel might get them into trouble or lead them down the wrong path. But when you're doing that to adults as well, adults are being told who they can and cannot be friends with based on whether they accept the same interpretation of Sky Daddy. I know I said that, Sky Daddy. The same interpretation. And we're not just talking about the fact that there's one. It's this particular way of worshipping him that these 8 men in New York say it's right. If someone doesn't agree with that, then they are quote unquote bad association. And so here we are. People are being isolated from the group. So they demonize them, they separate them. They are called people that are of this world, the wicked system of things. That's what in general, what everyone is grouped as. Anyone who is not there, they are part of Satan's wicked system of things. And there is a sort of normalization of them being destroyed. There is, and I think perhaps even more and more so now, where the members are generally being prepared for the fact that all of these people are going to be struck down any minute now. They're all going to die. And there must be something that does to you. There must be something that happens mentally when you look around and look at your neighbors and your co-workers, and you look at them as people that are dispensable, people that are part of Satan's system of things that deserve to be killed at any minute now. That's just not right. But of course, when you've had all these stages of brainwashing leading up to this, somehow the blinkers come on and you don't rationalize that this isn't right. This isn't right. What exactly have they done that makes them deserve to die? But this is all part of the brainwashing where you don't think about that. You don't think about those. On to the next one, which is, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Point number 5, you get up to coercion into making a lifetime commitment. So for a lot of witnesses, this happens in their teen years. I think I was 12 when I got baptized, because that is a form of lifetime commitment that you have in this group. In other cults, it could be all other sorts of processes, just some way of initiating yourself and pledging your life to this group. And that again is yet another layer, because now you're invested. Now you're really committed. Now you're not just saying it, you have made a pledge. It's public, and allegedly you made this pledge to the creator of the universe. You don't want to break that, do you? And so a child who is 11, 12, 13, 14, they're not old enough to make such a commitment. And there are children making that, getting baptized, even younger. I've heard of 9-year-olds that are getting baptized. They have no business getting into such a commitment. But that is sort of the next thing that comes. You are coerced into this. For me, it was just like, well, you study this book, and this book, which means the next step is you get baptized. What else would you do? Hats off to the people who managed to avoid that step. That wasn't me. I just went with it and I did it. I think I may have mentioned this in my waking up video, how coming out of the water after getting baptized, the strangest thing, the question that was ringing through my head was, what have you done? What on earth have you just done? That should have been a sign, but there we go. So they coerce you into making some sort of lifelong pledge, some sort of public declaration in front of all of the members, so that you really feel like you are locked in there. And then the last thing that I've put on there is then you're hit with threats of being punished if you do decide to leave. So again, for different groups, this can take different forms. In the witness faith, it is the threat of, first of all, losing your family, everyone you love and you care about, because remember, if you go to one of the previous points, you're isolated anyway, so you don't have any friends who are not in this group. And so now that you're in, now that you've made a lifelong pledge and committed your life to this group, now there's the threat that if you decided to leave, you will be threatened, first of all, with losing everyone that you know and love. And then secondly, the wrath of the eternal sky daddy, God, forever and ever, you are going to be destroyed. And so when you put all that together, you have a powerful brainwashing process in place. And this is how we have 7-8 million members, right now. Some people say that's debatable, but this is how we end up with a lot of members. And I was commenting on a Lloyd Evans video recently, and someone was asking, how do people get into this group? And I don't find anything appealing about it. And I said, well, the thing is, most people don't come in on their own. Most people are born in. And if you look through the steps of the repetition, you have the reinforcement, you have the information control, so you don't see anything else. Everything outside the group is demonized. People outside the group are demonized. So everything inside good, everything outside bad. We have fear. Think the acronym FOG, fear, obligation, guilt. Reinforced day in, day out, week in, week out, nothing else. That's all you have. Information is controlled. You then get to a point where you pledge your life to it, and then you're threatened with punishment for deciding to leave. This is how we end up here, with a group where people feel like they can't get out. And usually it's too late. It's too late when people realize that it's all a lot of BS. There is no proof or evidence for anything that's been claimed. But what are people going to do? So this is how I think the brainwashing works. And so to finish on sort of a lighter note and a bit of a celebration. So Lloyd Evans, one of the people out there that helps us to sift through the information. I personally have no interest in looking at what they're doing in the day-to-day, what's happening with their numbers. But one of his recent celebration videos, I think it was the service report one, where we had a list of the countries where there has been a drop in numbers. So globally, I think it was like 0.6% reduction in number of publishers, but the country that had the most numbers down was Nigeria, and I was so proud. I was so proud that my country is topping that list of people that are deciding to leave. So hopefully that trend continues. Hopefully it's not just a fluke. Hopefully it's something that will keep going on, because information is spreading, and everyone out there who is watching videos, sharing them, commenting on them, bringing the algorithm up so that it's shown to more and more people, you would have all been part of that. You would have all been part of more people feeling more comfortable to ask questions and to chase up on the answers until they get them, and not feel bad for asking questions, and not feel like, they're doing the worst thing in the world, because that is what you're made to feel like. If you keep digging and asking questions, you are an apostate, you're mentally diseased, which is all part of the name calling and the threats and the shame that go with simply asking, is this true? Maybe I want to compare with the differences of information, which in a normal world should be nothing to be scared about. Truth should stand up to scrutiny. If something is true, it's going to be true. But when you have a group that is so hell-bent on keeping members brainwashed, tightly controlled, they cannot stand any form of scrutiny. And these are some of the ways that they do that. And so to see that in Nigeria, despite all of that, people are leaving, that made me so happy. And it ended the year on a high. I'm not sure if I watched that before the year ended, or maybe yesterday. Not yesterday, the first, I don't know, but that was fantastic news. So I want to end on that high. On that note, if you're watching up until this point and you haven't liked or subscribed, I don't know why. Please do that, because it helps more people see them. It helps more people feel it's okay, like I said, to ask questions. I want to hear your thoughts as well on any of this. Did you experience any of that? Because I literally had the whole list of everything there. But if there's anything that I've missed, anything that you feel is part of the brainwashing process, chime in the comments, let others see it as well. Let's swap stories, experiences, because this is how we all go forward and come out of this. I will link some videos up here for you to watch next if you're sticking around, why not? And I'll speak to you on the next one. Have a good rest of the week and stay safe, everyone. Happy New Year again.